debate is extremely simple. We have two purposes here. Number one, to allow parents to make these choices, which is why we think it's important, which we'll be explaining later, and how parents should be able to feel satisfied by the choices they are making and by the children they are giving birth to. How does this actually work? Because number one, it probably looks like gender altering, which actually exists in status quo, and the likelihood of succeeding is extremely high. It's like selective sperm choices for fertilization, which actually does not involve any physical altering of characteristics. It's like before these children even exist as a living being, they're already changed from the start, so we tell you there's no physical harm there. But secondly, on a less common case, it things like, for example, characteristics of the child can actually be changed. But we tell you, right, the important thing here is that the child actually does not feel a difference because the child never knew that it was given out in the first place, and the parents were the ones who made the conscious choice in the first place. So we tell you that the children actually do not face a difference in their mentality and the way they think and view these options. There's actually no net harm here, which I'll be talking about later. Now, clarification is very simple, right? Our opposition might be telling us, oh, the risk of failing is extremely high. Number one, I feel that parents opted in, so they should be forced to bear the consequences. But then secondly, on children's welfare, right? I tell you, there's always a risk of defective birth in status quo, and I tell you actually, it is better on side OG because genetic altering is actually has high success rates because this is the reason why it's likely to be legalized in the first place. Because if success rate was low in the first place, it's not likely to be pushed out to the masses. So when success rate is high, I tell you, the likelihood of children actually bettering compared to coming out defective is way higher. But even in the worst case scenario, we tell you that defective children is already present in status quo. Now, before I move on to an argument on how there is no principle of any TDIs. I think, right, because the parent is the one giving birth to the child, the parent has a principal right there because it is a choice they chose opt-in and they should be having the fullest utility over it. And I tell you, right, the only way you can justify how this is wrong is that if it actually harms the child or it harms any way that the child actually lives in life, which we tell you does not exist in the first place. Now, my first argument on how there is no exact principle wrong, right, it's because number one, the rights of people are only taken away when you harm that of others. And we tell this actually does not exist when these children from the first place never even exist as living beings because this is like selective sperm using for fertilization. This is like the child never had a sense of pain, never had a sense of feeling, and that is where the child is actually altered. So we tell you when the child comes out, there's actually no physical harm that the child faces. So there is no principle wrong exactly there. Because you cannot tell us in today's debate, oh, that this is like abortion. Yes, the child is in the tummy, but you like get rid of the child lives a totally different life. Because that is different. You totally take away the life of the child. On our side, we're just changing how the child comes out in life, and the child actually does not know what happened, and the child, we tell you it's likely to come out perfectly fine. It's because, right, we actually change the stuff before they even exist. And the impacts here are very simple. We tell you, right, we actually increase the utility of the parents because now the parents feel like they're in control of what they're actually giving birth to. This is something that my second speaker will be substantiating on how parents are more likely to actually care about these children because now they feel like they have made the choice for these children to come out the way they are. They're less likely to complain, oh, my child is so dumb, my child is so stupid, because now they feel like they have actually made a choice. They're more likely to bear the consequences. And we tell you, secondly, we actually allow the satisfaction of the parents because the parents now know that they actually have made the choice. And we tell you, lastly, that parents actually feel that they are giving birth to a child which they actually have the choice over compared to what happens in status quo where parents feel like it's a total birth lottery where they do not have any choice. Then when the children come out, for example, they come out in the worst case scenario autistic or in the worst case scenario like less smart compared to their friends, they're likely to say, oh, I just give up on my child because this is not what I want to. So now we tell you on our side, right? The thing is very simple. Parents are more likely to feel satisfied, they're more likely to give better care to these children because they actually feel like they're making a choice. This is something my second speaker will be talking about later. But one we have on side opposition, right? On how, oh, this is like weighted to the rich, right? Because, oh, this procedure is extremely expensive. We tell you to a certain extent, which is likely to be a quite small extent, the government is likely to regulate the prices for it to be fairer, so at least there is accessibility coming from all ranges. So it looks like, right, once parents opt in, they are in on their own. Because the government goes to its fullest extent to make it accessible at least, then every single harm that goes through is something that you opted into. So you cannot say it's an unjustified harm to the parent. And the children, we have already told you how it does not harm their welfare and stuff. Now, because people, right, we tell you also people are not going to go crazy and just want to genetically alter every single child. I mean, like every single parent will not do this because we tell you that people have religious concerns, people have moral concerns over this. So people are not likely to run rampant over this genetic altering. They are still likely to have these considerations at the back of their mind on how this is something, this is new technology, this is not largely accepted by society in the first place. So we tell you it's a principle right for them, but that people are not going to exploit these rights. Thank you.
There will eventually be no physical harms caused to these people who undergo these technologies, right? I think this, what's the main message of this debate, right? I think that the main message of this debate is mental involvement towards these like people who first, looking at their previous approach, right? Firstly, the parents who choose to do this technology, they run this technology. And also secondly, these children who undergo this technology and have to realize that they have went to these went through these technologies to become this genetically modified out of the ones that's point, right? And also thirdly, people who don't have financial abilities to get to go through these technologies so that they can feel inferior compared to these people who go through these technologies, right? I think that this is the main issue of this debate. Right? Let's get to some of the they say children do not know that they ever go through this technology, right? The first one is not very likely because obviously the genetically modified child would be more brave, would be more handsome than these other people who do not go through this technology. That won't get very likely in the first place. But even if you do think that there's see that generation right? See that these children who go through these technologies will never know this, right? Let me tell you, if they don't know that they ever went through this technology, you think that this actually provides them with a sense of more maturity, right? Because obviously I think that if these people are not knowing that they went through this technology, people are obviously more unsure, they don't know if they went through the technology or not, which means that there will be more like burden on right? We think that that's a very happy world when they're in their school, right? Also, it's good that they see that the satisfaction of the parents will actually feel like they're having a baby or having children in their same, right? We think that individuality in this case is the most important, right? Because obviously, individuality and seeing what the children are actually doing, what the children are actually special in, is much more important than seeing their children. Seeing their children become genetically modified to be special as a thing. Right? We don't think that actually brings satisfaction experience because I think what parents actually enjoy when having a baby is that these parents feel that they two personalities come together to find one special personality or one special ego, right? I think that is a main source of satisfaction of parents. In fact, the parents actually feel like they're doing stuff, right? One piece of training that they actually feel training is right? I think they actually have some piece of interaction, right? But I think these are very different, right? Which is to say they won't really interact with the factor of financial debt, right? Obviously, I think that these technologies are very expensive. Only rich people will be able to access these technologies, which is to say these rich people. I think that these rich people, because they have more access, these rich babies and children from richer families, they eventually have more genetic modifications in their bodies, which is to say they'll eventually gain more superiority living in this society before we go into our education or anything for us. Right, we think that that's the main scope of this debate, right? I think obviously there are more children there are normal than there are children which are finance right? Because most are suppressed by education, which is not manipulation and minorities. Firstly, how are manipulations? Basically manipulations to make your children look better or smarter, right? The three main there's reasons as to why this is bad. First, the attack is in the children's perspective, right? So children will think in their case that they have been modified to look like this, and so far we're able to prove that these children will be able to gain the knowledge that they have going to this technology, right? Because they're going to be suppressed in this society because they obviously have more burden of this, right? Right? Because there will be more depression among the majority or among rich people, rich encourage babies to go to this technology, right? Secondly, so that there will be inferiority of people who don't go to this technology. I was very first one that tackle this in my second argumentation. And thirdly, so from this parents' perspective, parents will have confidence inside the process of deciding whether they have to go to this technology or not, right? So why does conflict necessarily that? Why does the other team lose the people engaged with it, right? At this point, right? So eventually these people like they bring a sense of shame to these children. And that because the children know that their parents are having conflicts of whether they should have like sent this baby to this technology or not, we think that this will actually bring a sense of shame towards these individuals or towards the baby who is involved in this technology. Second, our argumentation, right? To some minorities, because only rich people will be accessing these technologies, which is to say the gap between the rich and the poor will eventually increase. So obviously, I think like if poor people said richer people are more like I guess handsome or more pretty and whatnot, I think that there will eventually be a bigger sense of inferiority of these poor people, and a bigger sense of superiority over these rich people, which is to say there will be more social polarization between these two parties.
Thank you, fellow, for that speech. May we have the proposal motion of the case?
Sharing that in order for a child to learn to the fullest potential, you want to have a good relationship between the parent and the child. And that is what only the one we're going to do in this debate. Before I move on to my arguments, let's just do a few responses to the entire open ban. Because their entire thing is basically about how it will be inaccessible to minorities and that it's going to be a far superior difference between the rich and the poor. We said that first of all, based on what my first speaker has already said, we said that we're going to create others that allowing the government to regulate these prices, like for example providing subsidies in these areas. So we want to talk about it being largely accessible to the rich, but we had this is unlikely to be true because we said that the government will be able to want to foster this sort of gene editing where their society can become a lot more better in terms of kindness and personality and etc. So they're likely going to want to make this accessible to these individuals. But even so, we said that if this is untrue, we said that it's only going to happen because in order to regulate these prices, once parents choose to opt in, they're basically the ones who are going to consent to these whole things. So if the opposition says that oh, this is likely to be coercive in nature, it's not because they're going to have contracts with this sort of thing that they're going to be able to opt in anyway because they already know the full extent of this information. But then secondly, we talk about how the only reason why having a child is so beneficial is because you want to allow them to have different individuality and differences, and that is what makes having a child so happy. First of all, we find that this pregnancy thing, and when it happens during pregnancy, you're still able to have your genes merged together. What we're trying to say is that you're still able to just edit certain genes to make something a bit more or make something a bit less. So what this means is that you cannot just say that out and you're going to change genes entirely. We said that there are also a lot of other characteristics in life that makes the child different. For example, through your nurturing environment and things like that. So we said that in that sort of extent, right, you're still able to have differences in your child example. You're still able to raise them to the best of your ability because of the environments that you're in. But then moving on then, is my argument in this debate. Firstly, about how parents are more likely to the child overall, emotionally, financially, or educationally etc. So what this does is like moving on to my second layer then, how does this basically foster a good relationship? Entire now, on the outside of the house, the parents be able to have this choice, able to get rid of all of the harmful characteristics that might exist or happen a lot more on the opposition side, and it's something that they're going to be discriminated against. So this sort of thing and these harms to exist on that. But what we do is that we make this child basically have less chances of being like defective, for example. We allow them to have like a happier life to prevent things like bullying towards these child, for they're able to basically feel happy with who they are. And we tell that this is likely going to happen and have positive benefits for the child. Because first of all, like when this child knows these things, like if the parent doesn't end up telling this child about these like things in the first place, I don't think they care as much because they know that it's something that's only doing that to them during like pregnancy or during like when they're like in the womb, for example. So in terms of like the proximity towards the problem, if they're able to live the best of their ability, they're able to claim the benefits of having their gene out there, they're still going to be able to be okay with it anyway because it's still something that they're happy about. So before I move on to the comparison, then I think I need to know.
How do you accept the child or form a connection with the parent didn't originally accept the child for what it was?
We tell that what we see at the outside of the house is that when that's already the problem on your side because when you're born without any sort of gene anything, if their child comes out as like something that the parent does not want to associate with, your chance of having a worse relationship or having abuse and things like that is a lot more likely under yours at the house because it's something that you like cannot control. Or we say that under outside the house because parents are actively making the choice, because parents are actively choosing that they want to be able to have one like the next child even more, and they're able to choose the best genes of these children being able to foster a better relationship with them. So even that you change their mindset, you change their ability to be able to interact with their child even more, which is less, which is better outside the house because you physically foster that better relationship. So in comparison then, we say that the entire opposition bench, what they do is that things like for example discrimination and like minorities like feeling inferior that exist on the outside the house because like these defects things like that will still exist anyway. What we do on the outside the house is more maybe a lot more accessible. But secondly, we also try to be foster better relationship because the child will feel that they're wanted by their parent, and no matter the process of doing it right, as long as the child is able to feel happy, we try to maximize the utility of the parent, we also maximize the utility of the child. So we're like just like just because their kids was better, right? This is the premise that Tree stands upon, and let me tell you why this stands, right? Okay, so starting off with the remotes. Their first point is about how parents will feel like they have a choice on their side of the world. First of all, we tell you, okay, parents have a choice to have this children, and we think that the minority of parents who are not happy with their children are, number one, very, very minority, and we tell you that number two, most parents are happy with their children no matter how they look or how they're genetically made, right? So we think it's very unbiased to say that all parents just want to genetically like change their children so that they like them better, right? Okay, and then their second point is about how the risk is low and that how birth is dangerous so it doesn't matter. Okay, first of all, we tell you that, okay, even if we take this chance that, even if we buy this one, the risk is low, which we tell you number one is probably involved, because even to a certain extent, there's going to be some kind of risk. Some kind of risk people should not be taking, right? Because yes, birth is harmful, but why are we adding more risk to the process of having children, right? We tell you this is unnecessary, right? Okay, and then there's point about how parents have justification to do this because they birthed the child. Okay, we tell you that just because it's parent birth, does not mean that they own you, right? Like, look at the stats for this, it's like medical emancipation, because parents are not always meant to use these resources for their children. We tell you that just because this parent birth does not mean that they have control and this ability to choose how these things about you, right? Because again, there are things like parent recommendation where they're not only looking at what's best for you, but what's best for them. Like you said, because they are not satisfied with their child, not because their child necessarily needs this procedure, right? Okay, and then their point about how parents will care more about their children and how it's going to foster a better relationship. Again, we tell you that most parents are willing to provide unconditional love to their children for the simple fact that it is their child. Right? We tell you that it's completely unliable that all these people are just going to want this to make their children to feel better about themselves, right? Okay, and then their last point was about how children will have more defense, and I have three ways of response to this. Number one, we tell you this is not exclusive on both sides. These children are still going to have defense, so they never really recognize how this will look like, right? How these defects will be faced in the first and second. How we tell you that people can still be happy with disabled
children live in the status quo. There are people with disabled children who are completely happy, who are willing to sacrifice parts of their life and to provide care, right? Number three, we told you there's alternatives, such as giving your children proper like, what do you call it, proper resources and stuff to make sure that they are happy. Oh, sorry, I had another point. Your last point was about how these children will feel more wanted, right? Again, we told you there's a minority of cases that these parents don't want their child to make their children feel like they're not wanted. Most children feel like they're wanted in the status quo and in the first place, right? Okay, we thought this is also very important because if your parent has helped and has changed things about you and you know about it, why would you feel wanted? You would feel more likely unwanted because you know that this parent is not like you in your natural form. Before we go towards their argument, for our short argument is that you have to go on.
If the parents love their child, they're really doing just anything other outside the house. How exactly do the parents understand the house give them unconditional love?
Parents on our side of the world will still give them unconditional love because they love them for who they are. Okay, yes, love is on your side, but it's conditional. It is because, as your opening said, it is because they live better because of this genetic modification. On our side, unconditional love will still exist, but on the child's natural form, right? The child will not feel like this love is conditional to their genetic abilities, right? Okay, so moving on, our fifth constructive point is about the social narrative that is correct. Yes, we will buy into their characterization that it's going to be highly accessible for most people, right? Okay, so what is happening on our side of the world? Let me tell you, on our side of the world, there's an understanding that everybody is different, and some people are genetically more talented, or some people are genetically not, right? But what is happening on their side of the world? We tell you that in their side of the world, there's going to be this expectation to be genetically modified. There's going to be high standards of beauty, high standards of intelligence, because they know that this genetic thing is available, right? And that is going to be standard to be perfect. And what does this mean? So yes, people who are not perfect, people who do not get gene editing will be considered as outcasts. They will not feel like they belong. But we tell you that this is going to be most likely the minorities, and like the very, very poor people, because no matter how accessible they say that it is very unlikely that it's going to be accessible for all people, especially minorities, right? Okay, so we tell you that this is going to add social stigma and to these minorities, who really poor people being seen as outcasts. And we tell you that this is bad because inherently they're already minorities, they're already vulnerable, right? And we tell you this is going to continue the cycle of people being in poverty, right? Okay, and then as our first year orientation, we tell you this is going to lead to a cycle of people thinking that they're superior to others, which is going to lead to discrimination and social narrative, right? Okay, so what do we tell you as well? We tell you four constructions that are well meant and impacted, right? We correctly identify the most vulnerable stakeholders of the space. We tell you are these minorities, and we also keep on scope vulnerability and feasibility. And unlike we actually buy into the points and provide comparatives and have trade-offs, right? And we tell you that nothing scope can can be more impactful than us because we already took the scope. We already took the vulnerable stakeholders, right? But even if we were to buy OG's very best case and compare to our very worst case, I guess our worst case is that parents can care less about these children, which is not recognize at all. But even if we buy the very best case, is that parents will feel more satisfied, and we tell you that parents will be feeling satisfied on each of both sides of the house. We have no basis for it.
Thanks for that speech. And we come back and take it after
the part that overfalls in this debate is really simple. They fail to understand the four different metrics that we have on closing numbers. Number one, accessibility. Number two, long term. Number three, price designing. And number two, the certainty of these things given market. Understand really simple. Let's tell you about something that is going to be crucial in this debate. Parents and has the incentive for the child to be the next leader. They have the incentive for the child to be able to develop to become the next leader. Every single parent out there. No parents want their child to become a down star and become a beggar on the street. Now, let's tell you that a few days of characterization before I go back to my arguments, which will respond to O's argument about the argument about inaccessibility for minorities. Number one, let's go through the characterization. Number one, how parents should be right. The parents have the right to ensure their child to be the best in the future, and parents have the right to be able to take care of the child. So parents most certainly will do anything for their child to be better. And it tells us it's really unfair. I tell you that that's really simple. The both of them is really unfair. If I want the rich family, I'm rich in health, and my parents will give me rich resources, and if I'm poor, I'm really poor. So it doesn't really matter then. I tell you that about the second characterization, which is the child, right? They most likely won't have any physical damage because they're still in the womb. So when they born out, they think they are born with a super intelligence. So they don't think this child won't change in any form of way. The only thing is that they won't feel the pain, meaning they just think they were born this way. Now, let's go to the first argument then, which is on how in the long-term benefit of parents to help these children. Really simple. First, give analysis. The incentive of parents to help these children. Because no one has really provided to aim at secularization. These parents will want the rest of the children, and they want them to do this, right? I tell you that it is a form of unconditional love. The fact that they're willing to change their child from what they were born into to be the best form of the child they can ever be is what is unconditional love. The fact that they're able to give them this form of genetic to make them the best in the world is that thing. Now, secondly, I understand. So, the child is going to be likely to be happier and better things in school. I tell you that, especially in a lot, the first part of this is followed in conservative countries, especially in a lot of conservative countries, where parents are, let's say, sexist or in the patriarchy, where people focus on men, or because people think that men are higher than women. We tell you that being able to change the gender towards men is basically giving them the ability to be not oppressed. I tell you that this is very good, very good for few reasons. That number one, we're at least able to ensure this child will be better in the future because they won't be oppressed by society, especially in these countries with really focus on patriarchy. Number two, we tell them that this child will be able to at least live a better life than the current status quo they live. Now, we tell you that at least this protects out these children from being oppressed in the future. Now, we go on to the importance of family. Because number one, we're able to fulfill and make this child to be the best we can. Because if we want our child to be successful in the future, especially in poor, I'm willing to spend $100,000 or let's say $10,000 in order to make my child to be able to be smart, so they're able to be successful in the future. This is a trade-off, and we need to think that this child we might spend more money towards that. But in the end, what the resource they're going to bring back is at least guaranteed compared to my child trying to focus on studying, which is something they're not gifted in. Because studying a lot of things, right, they have to be gifted into, and in fact, they have to work hard in order to achieve this form. Now, let's go to the impact. Why does this argument is really impact? We tell you that we are able to then ensure that these child will be more fulfilled and happier in society and in school. Because these child then more likely will be more successful because they have this genetic and they become better. We tell you that this at least ensures that the child is able to do better, and even if they try to run on Harvard, it's not going to be as expected. Second argument is on how black markets will decrease. Understand that black markets are poor. Now understand that how black markets are poor on both sides. Right? The fact that on opposition, black markets exist, but they are legalized. On our side, at least black markets start to slowly decrease. I'll analyze the right argument is through that. Understand that parents have the right and know the rest of the school. On opposition, the only way for them to access genetic is through black markets. But we tell you that at least on our side, when we legalize these things, black markets will slowly decrease. This then doesn't do this, right? Because number one, know that parents will have the right to their child, and parents will go to accessibility. This doesn't bring some goals. This when we legalize this, black markets decrease and we increase accessibility. Because with OG mechanism, we allow more people to go to these places, and the black markets is slowly going to start diminishing. We tell you that at least these people are going to number one, we tell them that the unfairness is going to be less than because they know that with OG mechanism, we tell you that the prices are going to be low because of government subsidies towards it. So we are telling you that their entire argument on how unfairness is more likely is unlikely. And then second thing we tell you is that how with these black markets decreasing, we're able to have more accountability. Because when people know on what they are going to, because change anything in the government hospital or something like that, these parents will more likely know about what they are opting into. So genetically they know the harms, the costs, and know everything. And because black markets less likely will tell you this because they just want the money incentive, and governments want you to do the best. So when they have the best, you have this kind of terms and conditions. So at least that you understand and that you know what's happening in society, this is helping your child to be better. Because knowing the harms of it, just at least giving the parents the right to be able to know what the child is going to become into. With that, last thing I want to tell you is on. Sorry. With that, I have my speech.
There are certain reasons why parents would want to choose to change or edit a gene in the first place. And one of those reasons that both sides of the opening and the closing government list is beauty standards. Now I would like to tackle some rebuttals that I have from the government side. Now, the opening government said about how to expect something from a child that's not even born yet, to change their certain characteristics of a child before they're born is ethically wrong, and they should not be parents in the first place if they expect something from their child, right? On the CG side, they said about how there's many society, and with this, changing characteristics of the woman, they would be able to benefit them in the future with their workplace, right? But the thing is, it's not to the personality of men that actually affects the girls. It actually tends to be the structure of the society in the first place. If you change the personality of the girl to actually benefit, for saying because it's benefited in the job workplace in the future, it does not, because it does not change any society structure in the first place. I'd like to take a look.
Don't you think that when we make it affordable, it actually boosts minority positions by having better Gs actually face existing societal barriers?
Make it accessible? Okay. So, thing is, right, even though you make it accessible for the parents to be able to afford, it actually brings harm to the child, which I'll be stating in my quote. Alright. I would like to start with my argument, which is that the world has to bear the weight of beauty standards when certain characteristics or beauty facial genes are changed when they edit, right? Well, people tend to edit their genes for what? Because one, there are beauty standards in the world that exist, and people tend to like people who are pretty, who look handsome, or who like looks beautiful, right? And then parents who want that for the child because they think it's a privilege for the child to be able to live in the world, they tend to go change their child's genes just because they want them to look pretty, so for the privilege of the child in the future. Now, what does the editing look like, right? They change the facial identity. For example, if the standards are blue eyes, blonde hair, then everyone who has the money to afford those changes will change their child to have blonde hair and blue eyes. What does this make? The edit will make everybody look the same. And what is the problem with everybody looking the same and everybody who having the money to afford looking the same for the child, right? It creates a group of people who look the same. It creates like a million of people who look the same. And then when the child grows up, they only tend to look and befriend people who look the same as them. Because one, they look the same. Second, if the government argue that they can change personalities, then they will likely to befriend the people who have the same personality, who like the same thing as them when they change or edit their genes. So now, everyone is arguing about the better of the child and the outcome of the impact of those genes or editing genes, right? But we say on our opposition type as well as opposition, we say that this is actually it's a really bad impact to the old child already after changing the genes. First, it creates a differentiation between the groups of people because two groups of people don't look alike or they don't have the same personality. Two, the people who look alike or have the same personality would like to not accept other people from the other side because first, as I said before, they tend to not look alike and people tend to want to be friends with the people who are like creating a differentiate between both sides. Now, 3 is the child when facing this edit in the future, the child likely should not be happy because of this differentiate, and 2 because the identity of the child is now gone because 1 they have the same personality as other people, 2 they look the same as other people, causing them to have no differentiate between both sides, which is why I'm proud to.
Thanks for your class. We shall now get the results case on behalf of our friend.
worst. Although, on the worst case that yes, we are going to capitalize, these parents are going to capitalize off these children, we think that it's still in the interest of the parents because it benefits parents and also the child as a whole. If you post a videos on Instagram or something like that, they get fans, they get a really big white families, which means that they're able to unlock much more opportunities in the near future. In which this then means that the decisions that these parents make to edit the genes of the child is still a beneficial idea or beneficial choice in the end of the day. But secondly, we tell you about how if everyone is going to look the same with blonde hair and blue eyes and that impact their children because they're going to have like differentiation with the kids and they'll only play with people that are similar looking. I think firstly, although that there is a chance that everyone is going to look the same and abiding by beauty standards, I think that first these children would be able to recognize that I don't have to play with people that look the same with me. In which we think that the diversity under us of the house is going to be much more better insofar because through gene editing, there's a wider range of people that these kids are going to be able to meet, and these kids themselves are going to do much more better. They're going to feel much more confident of themselves. I don't think that this case stands. But even if your children are going to play only with people who look the same or have the same IQ, I think it's also much more better because there is an environment where kids are going to be able to grow. Because the parents' decisions that they make for their child is going to be much more beneficial and will benefit the children in the near future. I think CE ways over. First, in the way that we're already able to prove to you how to do that balance in the parents' incentive to make sure that these kids are going to get or to be able to access all the good things or to be able to access their full potential in the near future when they grow up. But secondly, that will also prove to you how these kids are going to be accepted to society despite them looking having different looks in the end of the day. All next, right? They give you a whole lot of basic things. First, they tell you about how the parents need to value individuality is more important and they will enjoy the specialty. Out of early note that we have already proven to you that the parents' incentive is to make sure that the kids are going to live a very good life in the future and also to make sure that these kids are able to develop their own potential. Although individuality might be so much more important, we think the development of the child is going to be much more important. Even if there are 10 other Einsteins out there, we still think this is better for the society, better for the parents, and better for the child themselves. But secondly, they also tell you about how there is going to be conditional on the art of the house, and they prove to you that these minorities will never be able to access gene editing. One, the point about conditional and unconditional love. I think if the parents are able to provide gene editing despite very high price, if you did status quo, I think that is already love to these children. I think that's unconditional. But on the point of minorities, we already explained to you, even on OG. I mean, OG also explains to you that they're going to provide subsidies. We think minorities now are going to be also able to access these gene editing technologies, in which all of these things mean that there is an equal chance for all of these individuals to be able to access gene editing, which means that the child is going to live a much more better life. If these people from minorities, even if you want to claim that subsidies are never going to be feasible, we think at the very much more best case, we already proved that to you that these parents love their children because minorities are willing to risk every single thing despite not having a really good life. They're willing to change the genes of their children through the technology because they know that this will be the thing that will mostly benefit their child in the end of the day when they grow up, right? But lastly, they also tell you about how this all in the parenting incentive as well as children. And if kids are going to realize that they go to gene editing, I think it's fine if they realize that they go to gene editing. It's fine if they realize that they're not born this way. I think because of these kids, they are going to feel better of themselves. I think this is very much better off on the other side of the house. Here's how we go over extensions then. What you want unique benefit is that we're able to live a much more these kids are much more able to live a life or a better life under our the house because they change their gender, they change their personality, or they change their abilities or even their IQ or how their brain works in some sense or how they or all of those things, right? We think that under the outside of the house, people who don't fit to society's standards or people who don't do as well will be much more discriminated under the outside of the house. Even if they also don't prove to you any outside decision in which how the parents are going to be able to provide a good life for their kids. Yeah, thank you.
As I'm looking for that speech and now to end this session, we have the opposition.
the child doesn't know who they are, and you've already limited their sense of self. You've already limited what they were meant to be. The child doesn't know who they are, and it's just another genetic modified look-like asking for details that comes and comes and comes over and over again. This will lead to confusion straight from the beginning, as they have been conserved with them, as they have been conserved modified. They will blame it with the child could have been. They have gone on and on how they will form a better connection with the child. But what will happen is that there will always be a wall between the child and the parent that separates them, because the child, because by modifying it, you are basically saying that you do not accept the child as who they were before, which is the reason why you need to treat the child as an image child. As a child, this will form an impossible, invisible wall between the child and the parent, inhibiting them from ever forming a true connection, inhibiting the child from believing that the parent has unconditional love. That's like a POI? Yeah?
If the fact that you're not like engaged with our parents' regulation is one thing, but minorities are so long in social status that one's better than another. If you want to go against structural barriers and bring things outside, for example, I'm clear as one minority, but I'm happy under this sort of phenomenon.
Minorities are unhappy on your side because even though how much you try to say that your subsidies will work to be able to defeat against genetic modification is something that takes tons and tons of years to be able to form. Even to be able to form in status quo, genetic modification is nearly impossible. Genetic modification comes with so many barriers to technology. And if you're talking about how you, and you're talking about, this leads to my second point of OG and CGs, fixing quote-unquote defects and quote-unquote make the child the best version of yourself. First of all, you're already forming the beauty standards of saying that these defects, these humble defects, are already not valuable, or already not favorable, and the best version of your child is not the version of the child comes up naturally. What happens is that you say that you can be able to fix defects by genetic modification, but what you don't realize, the people who usually have these genetic defects are usually people who are poor, because people who are poor with genetic defects aren't usually